Hangout on air is live. Well, I can't tell you all how wonderful it is to see these names pop up when we do the live streaming. It is such a joy, and all these wonderful names bring to mind such wonderful experiences that I've had with many of you. So, can you please type yes if you can hear me? Yes, Renee, yes. Everyone else, can you type a yes for me? Just so that I don't go into, there we go. Yes, thank you, everyone. Thank you. I'm actually about 10 seconds, 5 seconds or something ahead of you here. So I ask a question and then nothing happens for a while. Beautiful. Okay. I am going to bring Jesus through, and we will see what he has to say to start our session together today. I'll see you in a bit. You are blessed beings indeed. I am that one that you know as Jesus. And of course, we are pleased that you are with us here today. This is always a great joy for us. We gather together on this side of the veil, just as you gather together on your side of the veil, so that we may all work together to achieve the same ends. What is going on your planet right now is a very, very auspicious reshuffling of the deck, so to speak. What do you do when you shuffle a deck of cards? You mix everything up so it becomes less predictable. And if the deck is stacked or has been stacked by some nefarious person who has less than loving intentions, you eliminate that possibility. That is what's happening right now on your planet. The deck is being shuffled because it has been stacked against you. So this is how we want you to see the strange and confusing actions of political figures or international boundaries or banking institutions or secrets being revealed or old systems being challenged. These are all aspects of the deck being shuffled. Now, if you look at a deck that is stacked, it's all organized. The numbers and the suits and the cards are all where the person who stacked the deck wanted them to be. So that when the hand, let's say you're playing a game of poker, so when that hand is dealt, it seems as if that person got dealt a very, very good hand. There come their 4 aces. But the deck was stacked. And yet, if you are playing the game of poker with that person and you do not know that the person who stacked the deck and the seemingly innocent player are in cahoots together, you will think it's luck. You will think, my goodness, they got 4 aces dealt to them. What a great stroke of luck those beings had. This is what you think is happening on your planet. You are seeing people who are born rich, or you are seeing people who achieve notoriety, or you are seeing people in positions of power. And as the innocent co-player in that stacked poker hand, you are allowing those things to transpire in all innocence. There is nothing wrong with what you're doing because you are merely playing out the game as you have been taught it. And those beings who get the stacked hand, as opposed to those beings who get the unstacked hand, are playing by different rule books. And so this is why you look upon your world. This is why you look upon your politicians' decisions. This is why you look upon war and poverty and devastation and wealth and extreme diversity and think, what's going on here? This does not make sense. Surely, if our leaders cared about us and our ability to live on this planet, they would make different decisions. And you're right, but you are playing with a dealer who has stacked the deck. And the person who is receiving that stacked hand likes it. They like it. They get a lot of really cool things. They get a lot of really cool experiences. They get a lot of power. They get a lot of influence. And you can imagine the thrill of getting 4 aces dealt to you, knowing that everybody else is getting 2s and 6s and 4s and nothing that means anything. That is what's going on. So now the powers that be are under threat because the deck is being shuffled. We use this metaphor because you understand the idea of a stacked deck. You know that it is cheating. You know that the game is not fair. You know that someone's going to win, but they haven't played by the rules that you are playing by. And that is exactly what is going on your planet right now. So we want you to step back from fear of the deck being shuffled. We want you to step back from propaganda, your mainstream news channels. We want you to step back from fear. We want you to step back from your gullibility. Yes, you are all gullible because you've been trained into believing that certain things are what they are not. Does not mean you are stupid. It means you've been trained to interpret the system at play on your planet as a fair system. And as you go further and further into this system, you are all beginning to see that it's not fair and it's not sane and it's not bringing you a future that is livable and sustainable. And yet you keep voting, trying to make it better. And it is not better because the deck is stacked. So we want you to really grasp that this week. And the people who stack the deck are the people who are in charge of the propaganda. That's how you've been made to be gullible. So we really want you to not become fearful or isolationist, but we want you to really listen to what we're saying. You must begin to go inside, clarify your mind, listen to the quiet, still quiet voice inside, not the loud, fearful voice of the trained ego mind. And this is why these teachings came through this being several years ago. Many of you have gone through a process of transformation to enough of a degree, not totally, but to enough of a degree where you are able to master your minds a little bit, where you are able to discern, that's a feeling of fear. I'm doing that to avoid something. Let me make my choices based on positive emotion that is attractive to me in a peaceful and ongoing way. Remember, the ego is very volatile and reactive. What you may want one day, you won't want the other day. But Spirit's voice is slow and steady and says, come over here. This is what is in your destiny, in your future, and you can feel it. It always arises. Oh, I love flowers. I love nature. This doesn't change. My job changes and my financial situation changes. But this love I have or appreciation I have for this subject remains the same. That is your guidance system, inexorably calling you down that path towards that subject. So this is now a time in your world's history where it is so important for the training that you have undergone. And we know that there are some of you in this live streaming event that are relatively new, but there are hundreds of videos that this being has very, very diligently uploaded to YouTube, and all the information you need is in the YouTube videos and the books. For very little money, we'll say $100 if you buy all the books, you will have all the information you need. This does not need to cost you a lot of money, which is one of the judgments that some beings have. It does not cost you a lot of money to be able to access all of the information that we have been bringing through this being. Now is the time for you to dedicate yourself to your own guidance system and clarifying everything that is not in accord with peace and therefore is not in alignment with truth. You will be at peace if you are focusing on that which is in your best interest and in your blueprint. Each of you have a different blueprint, remember. Some of you have been designed to transform the medical system, and that is what's going to occupy your thoughts. You're going to be involved in the medical system, you're going to see where it's detrimental, and you may very well be one of those beings who is a catalyst for change in that environment. Somebody else may have absolutely no interest in the medical system and be an avid farmer and food grower. They may not want to change a system. They may be deeply immersed in growing things. That's all they care about. Now, the person in the medical field and the person who's obsessed with growing things, if they get into a conversation at a dinner party, let's say, they may find themselves disagreeing. They may find themselves valuing different things so tremendously that the person in the medical field, for example, may see them as ostriches hiding their head in the sand on their farm in the remote location that they're in planting sunflowers. They may say, this is not socially acceptable. We need a revolution here. But one being is guided by their blueprint, the other being is guided by their blueprint. And it is so important in these days now for you not to compare. For you not to say, well, I am an activist and you should be too. Here you are meditating all day. You're wasting time. We need people to stand on the front lines and fight. Some of you will be guided to be politically active, to transform systems. Some of you will be guided to meditate all the time. Some of you will be guided to grow food. Some of you will be guided to have a lot of children. Stay in your own lane. Do not judge what other people are doing. Go inside and say, what am I doing? What am I doing that is making me so angry? What am I doing that is making me depressed? What am I doing that can make me feel better? What can I do today to make myself feel better? Because according to these teachings, the better I feel in a calm and undrugged way means I'm more in alignment with my destiny. So let me know that if I'm happy sitting on a rock contemplating the calm gray ocean as the drizzle falls from the sky, that is in my best interest because I'm enjoying it and it's peaceful and I am okay. We say these things because your world is going to get very tumultuous as the deck is shuffled more and more. As the stacked deck is being deconstructed, chaos is ensuing. A shuffled deck of cards is chaotic. It is not orchestrated. It is not organized. It is chaotic. And so you are going to see seemingly chaotic things playing out. One story from one side of the aisle, another story from the other side of the aisle, horrible secrets being revealed, lies being told, and cover-ups happening. You're going to see it all as this deck is shuffled because it's a global shuffle, because it has been a global stacked deck. Don't be deceived by party lines. Don't be deceived by political lines. Do not be deceived by national boundaries or borders. Do not be deceived by the stories that are coming to you through the system that stack the deck. Go inside, align with your truth, stay calm, focus on your forgiveness practice, focus on loving yourself, and after you've loved yourself up a little bit, love other beings too. Remember, always start with yourself, for there is where you get your guidance. When you honor and love yourself, you become in alignment with the messaging system that has been designed specifically for you to take you on the path that you decided you wanted to go on this particular journey into physicality, this incarnation. It is unique. It is yours. Stay in your own lane. Don't compare. Don't argue. Use your energy for greater things. Use your energy for beautiful walks in nature with your pets. Use your energy for creativity, some art form, listening to music, dancing around your house, pottery, writing, whatever it is that draws you in. Begin to see that it is the most beneficent way for you to spend your time, because you're not being constantly taken out of that inner search. It is within you. What you don't want and what you do want is within you. What you don't want are your judgments, your fears, your limitations, your conditioned programs. The only way you're going to figure out what they are is to go inside and ask yourself, why did I get triggered? Why did what that person say to me upset me so much? Oh, she reminds me of my mother. It's nothing to do with her. It's me. These are very, very important times to glom on even more to these teachings, to your practice. It will serve you very well as the deck is shuffled. We will return shortly. Wow, okay. Very good. I'm going to have a sip of tea. Chat amongst yourselves for a moment. There's a lot of energy coming through on that one, as I'm sure you could feel. Okay, for anyone who's new, I did see some questions posed on the chat a little earlier. If you are new, please friend me on my personal Facebook page, and I will add you to our secret Facebook group. It's not a public group. I may delete you off my personal page afterwards. It's nothing personal. It's just the way these pages are linked. It happens to be linked to my personal page, but I do like to keep my personal page as personal as possible. I do occasionally post as a human being, believe it or not. And I don't want anyone who's looking at me or the work I do as a teacher getting confused between Tina and the non-dualistic teachings. I do occasionally get riled up over a subject and I want to post it on my personal page sometimes. It's quite rare, but there are one or two things that will activate me. And I don't want them to be seen as Jesus and Ananda teachings. They are Tina's opinion. So that's why I do that. But if you want to pose questions, is what I'm saying, you need to be on the private Facebook page, because that's where I collect them. Multitasking here is enough. It's hard for me to do questions as well. So please do join the Facebook page if you would like to pose questions. Question for today. I feel like what forgiveness really is and how to apply it to difficult emotions, it has started to click. I feel something like anger or frustration or judgment, and I begin immediately to accept what is, my emotions, my situation. I do not entertain an act of outrage, etc. What is the difference between forgiveness as expressed above and suppressing emotions or not expressing the emotion you truly feel? Thank you, Ananda and Jesus. I don't know who wrote that. I didn't write the name down. So really, what's the difference between forgiveness and not expressing or suppressing emotions? Very, very good question. Let's see what Ananda has to say. We're with you again, dear ones. And as usual, we thank you for allowing us into your lives. This is our spiritual practice. So when you allow us to help you, when you allow us to teach you and you allow us to guide you on your path towards the light, you give us gold stars in our book, if you will. We are then doing our work, and that makes us feel good. We are Ananda. We are your guides and teachers, and we are here to assist you in your ascension process. Your ascension process is overcoming the conditioned ego mind and aligning with spirit. That is what the ascension process is. It is the journey from believing and acting on every thought and feeling you have generated by heaven knows what in your mind, to being able to discern the input into the program. And if you can discern and edit the inputting into your software program, you then are able to control the output. So when you are in the ego mind, you have many, many programs that have been input into your software program. Just like a computer, you all understand how computers work. There are the software programs that reveal the actions and reactions and abilities of that computer. So you're very much like that, but you've got lots and lots of contrary programs activated, and so you get mixed results. You might have a program that makes everything black and white on your screen, and you might have another program that makes everything colorful and beautiful on your computer screen, your virtual screen. Now, if your computer has both of those programs within it and you're activating them without knowing that you're activating them, you're not going to have control over the screen. You're going to have some black and white images, and then you think, well, why is that happening? And then it will go color, and you won't know why that's happening, but you have actually activated software programs within that computer that give you different results. So we use this again as an analogy so that you become able to see this in simple terms. What program am I acting on here? Is it a program that is bringing me the results that I want? Now, the question asker here is saying, well, if I am aware and present and a button of mine gets pushed, I am able to decide whether or not to react to that button being pushed. Now, the fact that you have a button that is pushed that causes some reactivity within you means that that negative emotion that you immediately feel upon that button being pushed is very valuable. This is something that we want to really, really emphasize here in spiritual terms. This is a very good question, because this is a place where many spiritual seekers get confused. They think if they get upset about something that they are bad spiritual students. No, you are having revealed to you a program that's in your mind that you need to have revealed to you, because you didn't know it was there until someone pushed that button. So what happens in your consciousness is you have the self you think you are, the social face, the face of innocence, we call it. And beneath that, you have some very vicious programs. But because they are buried deep within the subconscious mind, they're not activated all the time. You have the appearance of being calm, cool, and collected. Well, as you know, somebody, usually a family member or a spouse or a child, can walk in the room and do something or leave something around or whatever, say something, do something, express something, and something in you will rear up through the peaceful demeanor that you present to the world and show its rage or show its violence or show its belief in attack or show its anger. So, are you repressing or are you mastering? That is the question. We want you to know that if you get a flare of emotion and then do everything you can to get back to calmness, it is a little bit of both. Because you had the flare of emotion, and rather than letting it play out and hear what that voice wants to say, let us say the dishes are in the sink from your child's breakfast that they cooked 7 or 8 hours ago, and you come in from work and there are those dishes there. Now, if you allow that emotion-full expression, you walk in the door, you're tired, you've had a long day at work, perhaps you've had a good day at work. It doesn't have to be a bad day, but it's the end of the day, it's dinner time, and you really would like to rest. And then you come in and you see the dishes in the sink. The flare of anger, why are the dishes in the sink? What have you been doing all day? This is very disrespectful, reveals to you your beliefs. your child's done nothing all day, their act of leaving the dishes in the sink is a personal attack on you, and that you are justified in that anger. Those are the things that get revealed to you if you express it. That is very educational for you, because we can tell you that the child that cooked that breakfast this morning had none of those three things in mind when they left the dishes in the sink. They may well have been involved in a creative project all day that they were immersed in, and time flew and they didn't think about any of those domestic chores. That may be the truth for that being. But your job is to reveal to you what's in your mind. And so when a trigger is spotted, that means you're upset, it's very good to allow it to express in a safe way. Obviously, we don't want any guns involved or violence or vicious attacks. But if you allow yourself to hear your voice, it doesn't even have to be directed to the person because they are doing their own thing. You need to hear your own voice say those things, because you need to know that those are the things that are upsetting you, not what that person did, but your belief about what that person did. Now, if you come into the room and you feel the flare of anger, you feel the resentment, you feel all those words, but you say, oh, I'm a spiritual person. No, I'm a spiritual person. I'm just going to do the dishes. I'm doing the dishes. And so you that is the kind of repression that we're talking about here. And that is often what spiritual people do, believing that they are being more spiritual, when in actual fact, it's a missed opportunity to really allow that emotion to come to the surface. Hear yourself say the words, you don't respect me, you're lazy, you've been doing nothing valuable all day, which are really quite nasty accusations when you think about it. If you don't reveal those things to yourself, you can't accept that they're in your mind and then bring them to the surface and get rid of them, because some of those accusations are actually quite self-righteous, quite self-centered from the place of ego. And so if you go in repressing and controlling, I'm spiritual, I'm going to do the dishes, I'm not saying anything, you have lost an opportunity to have revealed to you something unloving in your own mind. But trust us, you will resent that person because you haven't moved through anything. Not only have you not moved through the emotion, but you have not revealed to yourself the lesson that you needed from that experience. And so what has to happen is that experience has to be set up again, because you've got the beliefs, they're going to manifest in the same thing again. Disrespectful behavior, your belief that that person is lazy, that you've been working harder than they have, that they don't value your time. These may be beliefs you have revealed to you in your anger. They are in there. And so the situation must create itself again because you have not changed those beliefs. And so what happens? You come home from work the next day and the dishes are in the sink again. And so this is where rage, this is where intense negative emotion is fed and nurtured. It is in not being willing to express how you feel to yourself and to other people. If you do that thing night after night, eventually some great explosion will happen. And it's all it is energy. It's energy that wanted to come up because the beliefs are generating thoughts and ideas and emotion, and you push them down, and so they build and build and build. It is just energy, and that's what someone going postal is. It was someone who went to work every single day for years and years and years and hated it and hated the people around them and resented it and fed that belief system over and over and over again. I'm a victim. I hate this job. I hate this person I'm working with. And they just feed it and feed it and feed it. And if the repression and control is sufficient enough, none of that emotion will be allowed out, and eventually that consciousness cannot contain that energy anymore, and it will explode, or it will miscreate a sickness in the body that is the place that dark energy went to, that unloving energy went to. So some people give themselves cancer, some people buy a gun and attack their co-workers. We want you not to do those two things. We want you to come to understand that you can repress and control your feelings and emotions, mistaking it for being spiritual. But what we want you to know is that the revelation to yourself of those beliefs does not have to be a violent attack upon the other person. You can see the sink full of dishes, you can feel the anger, and you can say, I am not going to attack the person who left these dishes. I want to know what's going on beneath the form. Go into your bedroom, lay on the bed, and scream into the pillow, you don't respect me. You don't value my time. You're lazy. You never do anything. I'm working so hard to bring this family through. Nobody helps me. These are things you need to see. These are beliefs in your mind you need to see. The trick is not venting on the person and not kitchen sinking on the person who's completely oblivious of your rule book, who's completely oblivious of your subconscious beliefs and programming, and has a completely different path than you. So yes, it is very, very tricky discerning these two things. It's very, very tricky, but the mastery is in that clarification through the lessons of A Course in Miracles, so that you are eliminating preemptively your belief in attack, your projections onto other people, your old resentments from family and friends and boyfriends and girlfriends who've hurt you. You are clearing out the garbage of the past. You are beginning to master your mind through the practice of the lessons. And so it does not mean that you will not have these triggers. What it means is a lot of the garbage will be removed, so they will be clearer for you and easier to discern, because there will be less garbage surrounding that garbage. So it's very, very good to see it this way and know that you will continue to reveal to yourself deeper and deeper layers, deeper and deeper and more powerful beliefs, until you get to the very, very core of what you believe reality to be, and what you believe yourself to be, and what you believe love to be. That is the very core that you will eventually get to. But on the way there, don't berate yourself for having a negative emotion. Make sure that you don't hurt people with your negative emotion. Try and get yourself somewhere safe so that you can let the emotion flow without traumatizing other people too, because they will take that into their future. So this is what has happened in a lot of your families. Your parents were traumatized by their parents. And so your parents traumatized you, and you traumatized your children. Let this be the generation where this stops. But it takes training. It takes understanding what's going on, and it takes practice. We will return shortly. Very good. It's interesting. Okay, I'm going to have a sip of tea. Give my throat a little rest. No guns. Carl, we need gun control. It was a very good question. Okay. Dear Tina, I have been with this wonderful group for a year and have not yet had a question posed for streaming answered. Okay, today's your day. I'd be most grateful if this one would be answered. As I work with my mind every day, I am challenged by my constant return to focusing on what I do not want more of, pondering problems repeatedly after choosing to let them go. Let God refocus my mind, etc. I suspect this is ego repeatedly trying to regain control, and I remain confused about the helpful role, if any, of processing that which needs a solution. I had considerable experience in psychotherapy including contemplative psychotherapy with Buddhist practitioners years ago, in which processing with another about thoughts and feelings was believed to be healing. Would J or A clarify this for me, please? All right. Processing feelings. You are blessed beings indeed. I am that one that you know as Jesus, and I repeat that so you remember who is speaking, because sometimes when we go back and forth between Ananda and Jesus, there can be some confusion. We want you to know that the frequency held by each and all of us is the same, but this being and you have different responses and reactions to different teachers, and that is part of your programming. And so we work collaboratively to bring messages through each channel, Ananda and Jesus, so that it works on a different program within your mind. So just be aware of that, and that is why I will identify myself at times to clarify where the message is coming from, because it will then target a particular program that you have in your mind. So going over past events is a very, very important part of the healing process. But when you do it over and over and over again, you are the one who is traumatizing yourself repeatedly. So this is a very, very important thing. It is epidemic in your society right now, where you repeat the trauma over and over again in your storytelling. This is why it's so important to understand how the creative process works. What you focus on expands. What you focus on gets stronger. What you give energy to magnifies. And because you are focusing on it, the universe says you must want it. Why? Because you keep focusing on it. It's logical. That would be a logical conclusion to come from a creative process. If you keep looking at dirt, that means that you want it on some level. And that is exactly what happens. However, in the self-understanding and the revealing of your unconscious mind to your conscious mind, sometimes events will come to the surface that you have not processed. It relates to this previous question and answer. If you have repressed something, if you have put it out of mind, shut it down, closed it off because back in the day when it happened, it was not safe to deal with that energy. Remember, begin to see these things as energy. That energy is blocked, it is stuck, it needs to move through you. So we will give you an example. If you are 4 years old, and your mother or father insists on you doing something that is completely against what your desires are, but you know that if you don't do it, you might get a smack, or you might be isolated or punished, you will override your guidance system as a 4-year-old. You learned this when you were 2 and 3. Remember, there's training programs start very early. And you will override your guidance system, but your anger at your parents, that justified, don't make me do something I don't want to do, that little bit of energy will be pushed down. It will be put away, and you will control yourself, because even at 4 years old, you know it's dangerous to stand up for yourself in this particular environment. Each of you have done these things 1,000 times over, where you have repressed and controlled and hidden these things in you, but they haven't gone anywhere. Those little thoughts and ideas, those little bits of rage, those little bits of anger have gone in. And the programs that teach you to shut up, they teach you many things. We'll just use that one example. Don't speak up, it's dangerous. Build and build and build and build until the powers that be can get you to do very, very detrimental things to yourself, because over those decades you've been trained into not listening to your feelings. And so you can actually put yourself in a life-threatening situation, even though it goes against your guidance, because you've been trained out of listening to your guidance. But those energies are in you. They are there. Those little reactions every time you were abused or overridden or judged or terrorized, they are all there. As you begin to go through your healing process, those feelings and energies begin to be released. And we've said this before, and we've used this analogy before. It's like a water pipe that has not been used for a long time, and the pressure's not right, and it's intermittent, and it will bang and spit, and the water will come, and then it will stop, and then it'll squirt all over the place, and it's dirty, and it's coming through that pipe that has not been used for a long time. And your feelings are very much like that when they first begin to be revealed to you through your training program, your retraining program. We're retraining you towards love. We're retraining you towards kindness. We're retraining you towards self-appreciation. We're retraining you towards listening to your guidance system. We're retraining you to delete from your memory banks the programs that are hateful and cruel and destructive and environmentally degrading. We are leading you towards the light, and there are many, many obstacles along that road, and we help you to the best of our ability. But one of the things that we want you to understand is that this feeling self that you have repressed and controlled and trained is going to express itself again in inappropriate ways. Now, why is it inappropriate? Why does it have to come out that way? Well, if you started controlling and repressing your feelings and your words and your self-expression when you were 3 or 4 years old, which most of you did, you don't have much experience at expressing your true feelings. They are strong. They can be overwhelming. They can be very powerful, especially when they are backed by years and years of repression and control. And they may come out in big spurts of energy that are somewhat frightening for you. It can manifest in uncontrollable crying. It can manifest in rage when you finally realize that you're allowed to feel something, and someone in front of you bears the brunt of that first burst through the water pipe. It can be big and loud, and it can represent energetically all of the times you never said anything, all of the times you never spoke up, all of the times you did what you didn't want to do. And it can be quite a lot. And this is something that's very, very important for you to understand as you go through the many layers of the onion that is your subconscious mind and the programming that you've been subjected to. This is why we want you to take the slow and steady route. This is why we don't want you to be ambitious with your practice, but gentle with your practice, diligent with your practice. At times, slow and steady with your practice, daily tiny increments of transformation, because if you go too fast, if you push, if you're ambitious, if you take that Western way of being into your spiritual practice, you can become unstable because of these large energies that have been stored away. That is all cancer is. Somebody asked about brain tumors. That is all a brain tumor is. It is a chakra miscreating. So that means that your third eye, perhaps your crown chakra, perhaps your throat chakra, there may be tumors associated with any of these things, have been either overly active or shut down. Generally speaking, a tumor will be overly active. That means if you're constantly thinking in the monkey mind, constantly doing, constantly imagining negative scenarios, remember it's an unhealthy growth. So that means it's going to be overly active, unhealthy things, it may indeed bring on migraines. It may bring on a growth of a tumor. It may bring on some disorder of the eye, not being able to see because you're shutting down your spiritual vision. There are a multiplicity of ways that this can reflect in the body. And this is the way we want you to look at sickness. We want you to say, there's a messaging system here. What part of the body is this sickness manifesting in? Is it impeding my ability to move forward through the world? Where am I scared to advance myself? Where am I scared to move from where I am now? Is it a voice issue or a thyroid issue? Am I using my voice inappropriately in some way? Do I get angry at people a lot? Do I never say what I'm feeling because I'm scared of people's reactions? Go to the part of the body that's acting up and ask yourself and do a little bit of research. What is manifesting here? Be honest with yourself. Don't try and make yourself the innocent one. I never do anything wrong. I never do this. If you've got something wrong with your liver, this is where the poison of your body is clarified. Am I poisoning myself somehow? Am I contaminating myself somehow? If you ask that question with genuine curiosity, you'll get an answer. If you're frightened of the answer, you may not get the answer. But if you're genuinely asking, you may get the answer. So your world will always reveal to you that which you need to see. It will reveal it to you in front of you in your relationships, in your conversations. It will reveal itself to you in the good things. Remember, this is not all bad. You have some beautiful ideas, some beautiful connections, some beautiful creative things that want to express through you, and they will come through you. And so trust in the process, trust in today as revealing something to you. Now, it's very important in terms of the revelation of this interior world to medicate yourself as little as possible. Now, we understand that this is very, very challenging because there are so many medications in your society. You've been taught to do so many things to change your consciousness rather than changing your consciousness through this process of self-inquiry. Have a drink, turn on the TV, go shopping, whatever it is. We want self-inquiry to be honest. We want self-inquiry to be profound. That means don't be scared to go in there. But we don't want it to be repetitive in terms of processing an event. Process the event. If you realize that you were abused as a child and a memory comes up of your father doing something that was inappropriate to you in whatever form that was, find a close and trusted personal friend or mentor, teacher that can allow you to share that, go through it, and then say, that I don't need to keep going back there now. I've been shown that this is a place where my lack of trust comes from. This is a place where my fear of authority comes from. This is a place where my reluctance to become involved in relationships comes from. Let me now write down reluctance to become involved in relationships. This is the lesson that event has, that memory has revealed to me. That is now my focus. Trusting in developing relationships with people. That's my practice now. Let me see if I can see in the day where I keep acting as if I'm going to be hurt by people. That's where you turn the revelation of that memory and the understanding that that's something you've been doing over and over and over again. Then you will begin to see it. Oh, there it is. I just said no to going to dinner with someone because That's what I do. It's a habit. Why do I do it? I don't know. I think something bad's going to happen. Just like in that memory. Oh, that's the thing. Okay, what do I said no to that person saying, come to dinner. I'm going to take a breath. I'm going to call them in a couple of days and say, you know what, I'd really like to go to dinner with you. Let's meet at such and such for breakfast, or whatever it is that's easy for you to do something a little bit different. But the memory revealed to you that which is the habit, that which is the thing that is being driven by the unconscious. And that's really what you're aiming to become, is a conscious creator, not driven by something that happened to you when you were 4, but leaving the past behind, seeing the pattern that you created from that terror, because often it's trauma, allowing it to be what it is, seeing, oh, I do this all the time, it's not really serving me. Let me begin to, first of all, observe where I do it and be forgiving of myself and go, oh, there's that 4-year-old. She's trying to keep me safe. She's still acting out. She's still hiding from the abusive parent. I'm doing it all the time with all these people. Okay, I'm really scared to stand up in these situations, but what I realize now is that I have been acting as if I'm 4 throughout my whole life, and I'm miscreating here. I'm allowing something from the past to contaminate my present. This is where I need to take back my power. Now, we will tell you, you cannot do this unaided by a training program, by mentors, by teachers, by lessons, by trusted friends, by beings who love you and want you to become the greatest you that you can be. And that is why we are here, because often you aren't surrounded by those people. But we will tell you, the more you do this work, the more you commune with this group, the more you connect with beings of like mind on the same path, whether you do it through a group in your hometown, or whether you do it through the internet, whether you come to retreats, or whether you do live streaming events, you will know what you're guided to do. That community is going to get stronger and stronger, and you are going to feel safer and safer, and you are going to experience more and more love. Why? Because you are educating yourself on what love is and how love expresses itself. You are doing that, and you will have different experiences the more you come to understand this. But this does not mean that you go over and over and over and over the past. You know these people, and you may be one of them. Oh, my father abused me. Oh, my father abused me. That's why I can't do this. My father abused me. That's why I can't do this. And that story will come up throughout their explanation daily of why they are not reaching their potential. They have now become the abuser. Yes, the parent abused, but they have now become the abuser because they are perpetuating the story that is disempowering them. We love you all very much, and we want all of these lessons not to make you feel as if we are blaming the victim. No, we want to reveal to you the laws of creation so that you know when you are unloving and call up a hateful memory, you now have become the abuser, and you're doing it inadvertently because your mind is untrained. You do not understand the laws of creation. That is what we're trying to teach you here. So be kind with yourself. If a memory comes up, visit it, contemplate it, write it down, and then ask yourself, where do I react to other people today as if that's still happening? That is me perpetuating that trauma. I don't want to do that anymore. Let me practice my forgiveness. Let me work on studying my lessons and training my mind. And just let me be aware of the pattern that I have created through free will based on that old trauma. I don't want to lose my energy to that old trauma anymore. So I'm going to change. This is a challenging process because many of you have 20, 30, 40 years of re-traumatizing yourselves through these stories. Tell it once to a good and trusted friend. Write it down and begin to ask yourself, where am I re-traumatizing myself here? We will return shortly. Whew, okay. That was a long answer. I'm going to have a little sip of tea to give my throat a little break. Okay, this is a good question. Make no demands and have no expectations from anyone. I have believed in this maxim from the Course and tried to abide by it, but I don't think I truly understand the finer points of having no expectations. Could we have a summary of what these two principles actually mean in practice and some concrete examples to illustrate them? If we have no expectations whatsoever, wouldn't our lives be total chaos and totally unpredictable? For example, with friends, I trust that they show up at the appointed time when getting together, that they will behave ethically, or that Tina will actually have a session next Sunday. In other words, that they will follow through on their commitments. Okay. Having no expectations. Could we have a summary of what these two principles? Maxim, what are the two principles? Make no demands and have no expectations. Oh, we're with you again, dear ones. Well, this is a very, very important question because, of course, this is why you all get upset with each other, because the other beings did not meet your expectations and the things that you laid upon them based on what you believe to be true about reality. But what you are beginning to find out is that all of you have a different rule book. You were raised in different families. You were raised with different values. Perhaps you even have a different religion that has a completely fundamental worldview that is diametrically opposed to the person that you are interacting with. So if you understand that principle, you think, well, what are the odds that when I say something, they understand exactly the same meaning as I mean? So when one of you says, I love you, you think that the other person has the exact same definition of love that you do. And they say, I love you too. And you think, wow, we really agree. And you will have a certain set of expectations upon that definition that you believe you both have. But you have a very different definition of love than they have, but you've never talked about it. You haven't expressed it because you've only just met each other. And so when you love someone, you tell them where you are all the time. That's one of your rules of love. And so you're constantly sending them texts and you're constantly saying, well, I'm on the drive home. The traffic seems a little bit bad. I'll be 10 minutes late. So on and so on. The other person's definition of love may be when you love someone, you give them freedom. When you love someone, you trust them. When you love someone, you don't impinge upon them all the time. You allow them to do what they want to do. And when you get together, it will all be very interesting. Now, the person who is the text sender will get a very different reaction from the freedom lover who believes that their constant texting and informing them of where they are and maybe asking where they are, because in their world that makes sense, is impinging upon their freedom. Therefore, they don't love them. There you go. You've got two people who both use the word love that have completely different expectations of what love is. And so that relationship founders on the rocks of expectation and they break up. And they say, well, I love this person, but they were just so constantly controlling, asking me where I went and where they were going. And it was just oppressive and awful. The other person said, well, I really love this person, but they didn't care about me. They wouldn't answer my texts. They were always off doing things without me, and they just were uncommunicative. And so we were incompatible. They didn't love me. This is what expectation does. What we want you to focus on is communication as you go through your relationships with each other. So, for example, when you have a marriage, and this really surprises us many, many times, that people who get married don't ever discuss what their definition and obligations of marriage mean to them. The same thing can happen with marriage as love. And so you guys get together and you get married and you promise to love each other forever and ever, amen, and you haven't even discussed what your definition of love and marriage are. And so you begin to bump up against the rocks of obligation and expectation. And communication breaks down because communication, true communion, is of spirit and is not of the ego. And this is why, in asking about getting married, we have said many of you should not even contemplate getting married because you don't even know who you are or what you are or where you are or why you're doing what you're doing. Why would you even inflict that upon somebody? How can you even promise to love somebody if you don't even know who you are and why you do what you do? How you define what you value and what you base your actions on. There are many of you lacking self-knowledge in this kind of way. So when you have no expectations and you don't demand things of people, what you are doing is you are being open to learning about that person. When you have expectations and needs of others, you are laying your worldview on them. You are not allowing them to reveal their worldview to you. Now, our dear one has had an experience recently where expectations of her by somebody else were not met. Now, the expectations were met to the best of our dear one's ability, given the circumstances that she found herself in. The other person who was not happy about that solution became accusatory and demanding. Now, the fractiousness between those two experiences is where you practice forgiveness. Obviously, you realize that somebody wants something from you that you didn't know was your obligation to give them, or someone didn't give something to you that you thought that you should get. And so now you're angry that you didn't get it. Those are the places where you decide, okay, I need to reflect on this here because I'm feeling very hard done by, or I'm feeling victimized by whatever it is. Both sides of the equation can feel that way. And this is where you go inside and say, what did I do to contribute to this situation? Perhaps I wasn't forthcoming enough with information. Perhaps I was inflexible and didn't allow this person to respond to the circumstances that needed to be responded to. These are the things that you're going to encounter in all of your relationships. So if you have an expectation, for example, that you're going to come home from work and dinner's on the table, and you walk in the door and dinner's not on the table, and that's an expectation that you feel you have the right to have, then there's going to be hell to pay in some way. But if you have an expectation that dinner's on the table and it's not on the table, and you are an aware and trained mind, you will say, wow, I'm really disappointed that dinner's not on the table. I had an expectation. I didn't even really know I had it, but here and now I'm upset and feeling deprived. Let me look at this situation. Do I have a right to always expect dinner to be on the table when I come in the door? Well, that's kind of arrogant. That's kind of self-centered. That's kind of inflexible. That doesn't really allow for the person who's kindly cooking me dinner to have any freedom whatsoever at dinner time. Is that loving? Is that kind? Is that generous? No. Well, then, no, expectations are not those things. You do your best to communicate as clearly as you can what you're willing to offer to a relationship, whether it's a business relationship or a personal relationship. And you can offer these things very, very clearly at the beginning. You can say to somebody when you first make friends with them, I know everyone spends all their time on their phone texting. I don't. If you text me, I might not answer it or receive it for a day or two. So please don't take it personally. That's a kind thing to say to someone who's a new friend. It prevents them from having expectations. Oh, I sent Tina a text 3 minutes ago and she hasn't answered. I wonder what's wrong with her. These are the kinds of problems you can avoid by being open, generous with your self-expression, revealing to others of your strange obsessions and peccadillos. Please don't invite me to this restaurant. It serves meat and I'm a vegetarian. You need to know that. I don't want to eat there. So if you invite me to that restaurant and I say no, that's why. That's all. Doesn't mean anything else. So this is the kind of thing that you're engendering when you have expectations. You're removing freedom from other people. You're imposing your value system on them. You're often avoiding honest communications because honest communications prevent expectations from happening. So if you've got a lot of expectations, you need to reflect upon what your expectations are and have a conversation with the person of whom you have those expectations and ask them if they have the same worldview as you do. They don't. They don't want to do the things that you expect of them. Now what are you going to do? Are you going to attack them and say they're bad because they have a different value system or they want different things from life than you do? Well, that's one way of dealing with it. Or you could say, oh, this is great. I'm so glad I brought this up. I was disappointed that you didn't express yourself in the same way I do. But here we are. We've got different rule books. Maybe we should compare our rule books more frequently about more subjects so that we get to know each other better, so that we come to understand each other better. And of course, there are expectations. When you go to the doctor, you've booked an appointment. There are professional systems that you have that are at play in your society where if you book an appointment, you expect someone to be there. But what if the doctor that you're going to see has a flat tire and can't get to the office on time? You have to adjust your expectations and you will say, well, of course, that's understandable. But in the moment before you know what happened and the doctor's not there and they're late and you're looking at your watch and your expectations are being revealed to you, your anger's being revealed to you, being kept waiting so long, your judgments about doctors, your judgments about time, wonderful learning opportunity for you. That's how we would like you to use the time when your expectations are not being met. See your anger, see your fear, see your control issues, use it as a learning opportunity. And then when the person who has not met your expectation shows up, you will be very grateful because they will have revealed to you some of your unloving ideas. And that is as it should be. And that is what problems are for, to show you where you are out of accord. We will return shortly. This is so entertaining. Okay, I'm going to have a little sip. Please give me a moment. All right. I just want to say that the questions order is somewhat random. Often I will see questions come up on Facebook when I'm on there and I will copy and paste them. Occasionally I miss questions, so please don't take it personally. Kind of in line with that answer, I guess, of the previous one. I do my best to get a cross-section of questions of different kinds, and that's I do my best. So, okay, the Course states, if we refuse to worship the God of sickness, he will disappear into nothingness. God created us perfect, we are perfect, and if we believe we are sick, we have placed other gods before him. In the Salt Spring 2017 teachings, J&A told us that generational beliefs can get incorporated into the energy system and genetic system of the physical structure of the body, and that this is where things such as genetic inherited diseases can manifest. Looking back at my ancestral line can be seen that generation after generation, people in my family suffered and died of the same hereditary disease. I have ignored the god of sickness for many years and looked into alternative ways to avoid genetic predisposition, but nothing seems to have worked against it. It seems that modern medicine works on the physical body, which is the symbol of separation and is not God's creation, as everything created by God nor by love is eternal. Could J&A give us guidance on how to look at such situations as students of A Course in Miracles? Should medicine be employed in order to deal with such issues? Whew. Okay. Let's see what Jesus has to say on this. This will be the last answer. This will be the last question today. You are blessed beings indeed. I am that one that you know as Jesus. And of course, healing and miracles and overcoming the physical material limitations of the body are some of the great focuses of these teachings. And it is very important for us to be able to discuss these issues. Remember, by the very nature of your being in a separated body, in a physical body on the earth plane, in this 3D world, you are believing in separation with a great deal of your mind. So just remember that. Years and years and years of study do not completely override that yet. Now, when you have reached a stage of full and complete alignment with love, you will not stay on this planet very long. It is intolerable for you, and there is no point, because separation is no longer the frequency that you are holding. And that is what happened to me when I decided to move on from the earth plane after my crucifixion and resurrection. There was an energy drawing me up, up, up into the higher frequency realms with which I resonated now. So the basic premise that you must start this with is, I am in a body, I am sick, my family's been sick, there must still be many unloving ideas in my mind for this to be manifesting. So let me not stand in judgment of it, let me not see it as a failure, but let me just accept what is. I still see myself as an individual in a body. I am not completely at peace and in alignment with love all the time. And so there must still be things to be revealed to me. And that, of course, is why you are asking the question, reveal these things to me. Well, we want you to know that some of the beliefs that you hold in your mind about your family's sicknesses are not held with the alignment that they are mind created and solved by spiritual principles. There's still a strong belief in your mind in the physical. Now, when we say that deeply ingrained beliefs and ideas can be passed through the physical, that's because you were in alignment with them in other incarnations and you had not yet resolved them. And so they still played a part in your blueprint in this life. It doesn't mean that they're not of the mind. It means that they are still in alignment with your mind as you came into this incarnation. So that's the way that this is being misinterpreted a little tiny bit. When you came into that family, you were still holding that frequency that miscreated those what seem now to be hereditary problems. So that's the mind you came in with. So that means that in the last incarnation that you had, the last experience that you had, or the other incarnation that you had, there was still a belief in those sicknesses and in those physical manifestations. And so they became manifested again in this incarnation. It does not mean that those things cannot be healed. We want you to know that everything can be healed. That does not mean that if you come in with a deformed limb from a frequency that was held by you at the point of deciding what configuration is in alignment with you for this incarnation, it does not mean that that limb will regrow and fix itself in this physical time and place. That is not completely out of the realm of possibility, but it's so far from many beings' understanding that it is nonsensical for most of you to even entertain that idea. So we will say that for most of you, that deformity, that incorrect manifestation will not change, but your ideas about it can change. Your experience of it can change. Your interpretation of it can change. And it is in that it will be healed in another incarnation. It will be in the transformation of your mind based on these teachings, through the practice of forgiveness, through the focusing on spirit rather than the physical, that you will begin to be able to change those things. If you say, yes, but they're manifested in the physical reality now, I can't change it now, therefore it's more powerful than my mind, we say, well, that shows you your belief about physical material reality. That's what you have to change. You are being given something that is more challenging than most people, because that is the very story that has manifested it in your incarnation this time around. So you see, it is a self-perpetuating problem. Those of you with deeply entrenched beliefs about the physical material body being the problem or the creator will in fact come in with a disease that is physical from the beginning of your life to underline in you the belief that you have that it's physical. So this is a bit of a conundrum for the mind, because we're asking you to really, really look at what would cause something like a hereditary disease or hereditary malfunction or a hereditary manifestation that is patterned throughout your family's history. It shows you the strength of the belief in the physical. And that is not an unusual belief in your society. There are beings who completely believe that the body creates everything. And they are going to have the experience of exactly that, and they will not be able to change it because they do not believe that mind has effect over matter. And so they cannot experience the truth of that experience. That is what a miracle is. A miracle is a physical, out-of-time transformation based on a change of mind, based on a change of perception. And in the material, physical world, the secular world, the scientific method in which most of you are trained, that is an impossibility. And so this is one of the fundamental perceptual shifts that is going to take place as you travel through time doing your forgiveness work. You will begin through your forgiveness practice to see physical things change right in front of you, personalities, people, things, experiences, sicknesses. You will see them transform in front of your very eyes, and you will say, this is a miracle because I changed my mind and the physical material world reflected that change. Wow. That tells you that the physical material world does not arise in the way that you've been taught. This is the lesson. And so what we want you to do as the question asker is to write down all of your beliefs about sickness, all of your beliefs about reincarnation and incarnation, all of your beliefs about healing, and see where you are out of accord with yourself, see where you're contradicting yourself. And even though there is the idea that there have been many, many, many years of this practice, we guarantee that when you write down those beliefs, you'll see some of the ones that are incongruent with the teachings of A Course in Miracles. So do that exercise. Now, most of you who are in this group are in a separated body, seemingly separated body. You feel like you're an individual. You often feel like you're alone. You often feel unloved. You often get sick. You often feel unloving. You often feel connected. You often feel loved. You often feel kind. You often feel healthy. You often feel all of these things that we have listed. And what those things are showing you are where you are inconsistent in your beliefs about yourself, your body, healing, sickness, reality, time, everything. And that is as it should be. Your mixed beliefs bring you mixed results, mixed emotions. And when you have mixed results and emotions, and you can't always focus your mind and your attention and intention to manifest what you want, you are having revealed to you that which you came into this incarnation to have revealed to you, which is where you are out of alignment. So don't get angry at it. Don't get mad at it, but witness it, accept it, and say, I'm really inconsistent here. I believe that the body is manufacturing something, and I also believe that mind is able to heal everything. That's interesting. Let me keep investigating this subject. Where am I seeking out evidence for this belief? Where am I seeking out evidence for that belief? Oh, there I'm going to the body and seeing if the body can be healed by the body. Here I'm going to spirit and practicing my forgiveness practice. I've got some inconsistency here. Which one am I willing to let go of? Well, the body-focused one is a little fearful because the body is seemingly fallible. It seems to die. It's not consistent. It randomly goes wrong. If I invest in that belief system, then I'm going to be fearful. I'm going to be unstable. I'm going to feel like my world is not based on something solid and reliable. If I go over to this other belief system of love and I go over there and I begin to invest in that one, initially it feels even less tangible than the physical body, because when you're in a physical body, when you're in the separated, individuated form that you believe is you, you've created that because you believe in it. So you've got to understand that going to the non-physical, the spiritual, is going to be a big leap. It's going to be a big stretch for you initially because your experience demonstrates your belief about reality. I'm in a separated body. It gets sick. I get frightened. I feel alone. These are all coming from me. So when I step towards love, I am countering the default setting of this place, and therefore I need to assert a certain amount of dedication and vigilance to that journey towards love to overcome my obsession with individuality, the physical and the material body. All of you who are here in this physical, material, separated form, seemingly separated form, are there because you believe in it. So it's natural that you're going to have a lot of evidence for that belief. Now, we know that that's a very long and meandering answer, but the more you focus on spirit, the more you focus on your inner guidance, the less you focus on the body, the more you focus on feeling good and expressing yourself in accord with your blueprint, the less the body is going to rule. The body rules here because you worship it, you value it, you attribute it with things that it doesn't deserve, like incredible power, the ability to bring you love if your body's beautiful enough or strong enough, will bring you the perfect mate. You attribute to the body all kinds of things, but you also attribute to the body your fallibility, your weakness, that you're going to die. So it's a very, very mixed bag of things. So it gives you a mixed bag of results, and that's what many of you are wrestling with. Stay focused on love, stay focused on clarification, stay focused on forgiveness. Enjoy your life. Don't become a sourdough, a spiritual puss. Enjoy your life. It is about raising your frequency. When we say focus on those things, we mean enjoy your life. Be happy, be creative, be free. Express yourself to the best of your ability every day, and you will begin to raise your frequency up out of the realms of sickness, out of the realms of hereditary problems, out of the realms of physical deformity. You will be raising yourself up into the realms of healing and love and miracles. That's where we want you to go. So stop looking at the hereditary past. Focus on your forgiveness practice and raising your frequency, and you will see miracles. We are here to assist you in your ascension process, and it is picking up speed. So remember, the deck is being shuffled. Do not focus on the chaos of the shuffled deck, but go inside and focus on love, focus on your own self-expression, focus on your sweetness, your gentleness. And when you get revealed to you, your anger, your fear, your rage, your self-righteous anger, your generalizations about other beings, whenever you get revealed those things, witness them, accept them, and then decide to do what you need to do to let them go. You don't want to take them with you on this ascension journey. I am that one that you know as Jesus, and these are tremendously powerful times, and we are pleased that you have all of the information you need to guide you through these times. The deck is being shuffled. Be prepared to get dealt cards that you were not expecting. We will speak to you again soon. Okie dokie. Wonderful. Okay, my beloved people, this is not a pushing for any kind of commitment at all. I do just want to let you know that I have booked Stole Lake Farm for September 6th to 11th next year. If you would like your name put on the list so that you are the first to be contacted when we begin to book that, please send an email to assistant.channelingjesus@gmail.com. That is our retreat inquiry line. So that's where you want to send any questions about upcoming retreats. We will be announcing new retreats over the next month or so. We're working on some. I'm not going to tell you yet where they are. But if you'd like to be on the list for the Salt Spring one next year, please do let us know. Thank you all for joining us, and I'll see you soon.